It's Ashley and Rose. Welcome to the show. If you wanna know the deal, listen up, we keep it real, raw, revolutionary, talking about what's necessary.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ashes and Roses. Forgot the intro. So hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ashes and Roses, where we keep it real, raw, and revolutionary. Don't be shy. Join our tribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's season 3. It's our sabbatical year. We're just keeping it just real with you guys. Today we're talking about mental health and entrepreneurship. I'm Juny.
And I'm Ashley. We're just going to jump right into the topic.
Yes, the topic of mental health and
entrepreneurship. Do you have any thoughts that you want to start off with at all? Did you have anything to share?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thought I guess I recently uncovered is that I'm an emotional eater.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you're feeling some type of way,
I want to eat something.
You want to eat something. What is your go-to?
Like, I'll have a feeling that maybe I can't describe, and then it's like, I want to eat something like bad. Something like comfort food or whatever. But lately I've been trying to switch that with, go hit the punching bag, the boxing bag at the gym. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm an emotional eater. I eat my emotions. And I guess that makes sense. And here's the thing. It's not even like, what happens is like, the strange thing is not even like I'm eating all the time. It's like I'll go all day and not eat. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just get in the mood and it's like 8 p.m. and I'm like, I'm going to eat some chicken wings.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I realized that about myself not too long ago. So,
I definitely have like bad habits that I do when I'm emotional. Like, I feel like I'll try to eat stuff that I ate when I was a kid that was like clearly unhealthy. Mm-hmm. I don't think like things that I used to enjoy, my dad used to take us like out to eat on the weekends and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, this is bad, but it used to be McDonald's. And I don't mess with McDonald's at all, like for the most part. But when I'm like going through it, I'm like, I want a Big Mac.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's new. What's your thought of the day?
It's a random one.
Let's peep that I remember to ask.
We might mess around and have to Google this. It's a random thought. It's like super, super random. I've been packing and all that stuff. And I've also been like ordering stuff for Amazon to like prepare for my move and stuff. And I just wonder, why do they pack those like the boxes or new stuff with that little poisonous bag? Those little beads in the bag.
I've heard it's to like keep freshness.
Keep what fresh?
I don't know.
Cause it be in the most random, like, okay, for example, like it'll be in a bag, but if you purchase a bag, it'll be in that. Like what's
right? I think it's like to cause maybe the way they package them, like to avoid smells and stuff like that.
I guess I'm curious because I know that like maybe eventually one day, maybe I'll have a product that I want to sell, mm-hmm. and I'll understand why that little poisonous bag has to be there. I just don't get it, what the purpose is.
It does come with like everything though.
Yeah, that was just random. But yeah.
Thoughts of the day complete.
Yep. So this episode is what did you title it?
Well, I mean, the subject is mental health and entrepreneurship. Doesn't have to be the title, but just like working or still staying productive, still running a business while everything's falling apart.
Right. And it's hard.
It is hard.
Especially earlier this year, I feel like things were falling apart, especially when we had to close our business. I did feel that way. Like everything around us was just, there's too much going on. You know? Are you in therapy?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm in therapy.
Do you know when you started?
Are you in therapy?
Yeah, I am.
It's been a lifelong journey. Like, no, actually, well, this round of therapy, I started in 2020. And I only went like maybe a couple months. And then I started back up again in July of 2021. So it's like I went a year. Which is something I typically do, but
like you went a year without it?
Yes. When I started therapy in 2020, actually my first time going to therapy, I was in middle school. And it was interesting. I think at that time, and even still, like, there's part of me that doesn't allow, like, I'm not my 100% real self with anyone, right? And you
so you're being fake with a therapist?
It's not that I'm being fake, it's just that sometimes there are parts of myself that I'm not putting out there.
I can relate with that. Like, your initial, like, I even to this day, like right now my therapy sessions are like 45 minutes to an hour, but mostly like 45 minutes. And it just doesn't feel like enough time for me to be like, to give you all the details. Yeah. It just doesn't feel like enough time to give you all the details. But it does feel like I'm not being my whole self. You have no idea still who I completely am.
Right. Yeah. And who I have the capacity to be. Like, but what was your question was when I started, right? Was that it?
So you said you started when you were in middle school? Yeah,
but
do you feel like the same things have led you to therapy? Like, is there a pattern? Like, every single time you come to a certain point, you're like, okay, I need therapy?
No. So in middle school, I was kind of like mandated. It was like getting into fights and stuff.
Right. So like, what was it that was triggering you to get into the fights?
People trying me. But they okay. They said I had anger issues.
Dang.
And because when I was younger, like, I used to get into altercations where I would like literally black out. Not black out, like pass out, but like I would have no recollection of what I said or did.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So
how convenient for you to not remember.
It was actually pretty dangerous because it's like I would be liable to do anything when I'm mad. So I did youth directions for youth and family or whatever. I'm just putting my whole life out there, but so they made me do these sessions. I think I had like 6 months for anger management, whatever. And then I didn't do therapy again until maybe like 23.
Wow, that was like a big gap.
Yeah. I thought I was cured. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, and then and still this is my first time, because up until 2020, like, my therapists, they were white women who, I know they're therapists, but I just didn't feel like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like at home with my therapist, and I think when I was younger, maybe it was just like, home stuff and just not being able to voice like my feelings. So so it would be like, all right, you might be coming at me like me. This is middle school me. Like, you may be, saying something to me that's very middle schoolish, very like a childish drama issue, but I'm a unleash it all on you. You know what I mean? Because you decided to try me today, and I felt like, all right, this is someone who I could, I don't know, take on versus like the real issues that I was having within myself and maybe my family life and stuff. So, yeah. What about you?
As you're like telling your story, I'm realizing like, man, both times that I went to like, well, I've gone to, I feel like I've done therapy 3 times altogether, 3 times, separate times. The first time I was in college, and it was over a boy. I mean, he was a man, but it was over, like, I say a boy, like, I would never expect myself to have to go because of them. But I realized that I think that intimate relationships, like, bring something out of me that, or there's, like, a certain energy that, like, I give it that when things don't go right, things just go haywire. Like, I seriously experienced, like, my first panic attack, you know, in college around that time. But the funny thing is like, I thought it was over a guy, but then when you go to therapy, you're like, oh, there's so much more to this. Huh? It's like, dang. And it's funny because you know they're going to ask you about your childhood and try to connect it, and you're like, there's no way. And then, like, boom.
There's no connection here, therapist.
And boom, they connected to your childhood. And it's like, dang, that's crazy. There was, like, in my mind, all I saw was the guy and how my heart feels broken, and it's hard. You know, I felt like I was broken. I was like, I couldn't be, I'm somebody, you saw me in college. Like, I'm someone who is going to class and then running an organization and being involved in other things on top of that, and volunteering at my church, running, you know what I mean, having bake sales. Like, I'm the person that's like trying to be productive. At least early on, like, I was going in, like, I was just used to always being busy doing stuff. And when he came along, he just kind of like broke my heart, and I didn't know how to still move and function and go to class and do everything I needed to do with this broken heart. I just didn't know how to do it. I think maybe that was like the first time, like, you know, I had a broken heart. But yeah. Like in my other relationships, I think that it was like I was in control of being like, okay, I'm ready to move on from this. But in that particular one, it was like taken from me, or it was just something like I couldn't control. So yeah. So that was the first time I went to therapy. That was a white woman. She was actually really good. I actually felt like she was good. I wonder if like going and getting your notes is like something you can do from them. But it was like a therapist that was available on campus, and it was free. So it was easy to go to her. And it was nice. Yeah. Then there was the second time was over a guy again. Like, the guy triggered it. It's not like it was the only thing, but it was 2020. I was in a situationship that I just felt, you know, wasn't really serving me. And one day I had a lot of things to do, and instead of doing it, I just lied on my floor, my bedroom floor. And then I was like, okay, I need to go to therapy because I still have stuff to do. I still have to be a whole adult. Yeah. So, and then this last time was when our business was like closing, and also like my main thing that I went to therapy for was not just, it was just like, okay, I want to improve myself. I want to see, you know, where trauma is still popping up in my life. And then, in all honesty, like, I find myself being successful in all of the areas in my life that I want to be in, except for when it comes to relationships. So it's like, okay, a lot of times that kind of connects to, you know, childhood situations. What did I see growing up? And you know, how is it impacting how I move in a relationship?
Mm-hmm. So how does that affect your work?
For me, it's like the reason why I'm doing this work is for a future family. Like if it was just me, to be real with you, I would not be working this hard. Like I just wouldn't. I would find a different way to make money. I don't think I would be so worried about like. I still would want to make passive income, but I feel like the businesses that we're growing are like empire status, like big deal, you know. And I don't think that I would go for something that big if I wasn't thinking for family, like future. So when I'm having issues in the department of starting a family, it's like that's my why. So
interesting.
So when it's not going down, like when I don't see myself progressing in that area, it's probably going to slow me down a little bit in business and in my work. But at the same time, when I do find that, you know, it's probably going to keep me busy and slow me down in my work still. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I know that right now it's allowing me to be productive and get it done. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. But it's just like, what am I doing? Like when I forced myself, this year was the year my therapist actually like kind of motivated me and encouraged that I have a work time and then an end time. Mm-hmm. Cause she was trying to convince me like, oh, you don't have like, you're not getting what you want in relationships because you don't have the time. Like you're not giving the time for it. So I was like, okay, bet I'm going to work 9 to 5 like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I'll show you. Like it's more than that. Mm-hmm. And so when I get off at 5, I'm like, crickets. I actually have the crickets sound.
Ouch.
That ain't it. Whatever. I don't even know which one the crickets are. Well, but that's still the same thing. That sounds so sad.
Yeah, it's still kind of like. I mean,
yeah, but yeah. So it's like crickets, especially like living alone. It's like, okay, now what? Mm-hmm. Now what do we do?
Mm-hmm. I feel you. That's interesting. I didn't know that your.
Why was my future family?
No, I didn't know that.
What'd you think it was?
I don't know. I didn't think about your why.
What's yours?
My happiness is my why. Because it's really about my freedom to have a future family, or to not to say that I don't want one. I definitely want one, but I am in this headspace. Like I realize, like for me, like when I stumble, and I say stumble, I feel like I be stumbling into relationships because they always come when I'm not really looking for them. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it'll catch me off guard. And even in certain situations, it's like in retrospect where I'm like, that was something, huh? That was a whole entanglement. But what I've realized is that I give a lot of myself, and I don't always like what I give to other relationships, or like what I give to things outside of me doesn't like, I don't give the same to myself. So now I'm in this space where it's like, you know, I'm doing this for me. I'm trying to give to myself in that way, so that when that person shows up, I'm not going to be lacking in feeling like, okay, does that make sense? Because I think, so last year, I mean, since I've been an entrepreneur, I would say mentally, maybe 2020 was like the hardest year, where I kind of just found myself, like, as far as running a business goes, it was just kind of like, through the motions. I was going through the motions. There wasn't a lot of creativity. There wasn't a lot of, it was just like, okay, this needs to be done. Do it. But it wasn't this space of like creativity. It wasn't this space of like passion. And I think what's interesting is because, okay, so we started our business in 2017. And then so we ran it for about a year. And then by the end of that first year, I was in a relationship. And it was, at that point, it was like an additional external motivator, because I was someone who, we were together a couple years, so we started planning for our life together. So then definitely I was like, all right, what I do now needs to contribute to my household, my family, blah blah blah. And then when it kind of came to an end, I was just like, at the time I wasn't having all of these like, thoughts or whatever, but now I'm like, okay, I was doing a lot. I was doing so much for the prospect or for the idea or for the plan to have this family, right? But like now this family is not here. You get what I mean? And it's just like, okay, so then if I was doing it for that family, and now the family's not here, do I stop doing it? You get what I'm saying? And it was just so now me being in therapy is like really about figuring out what the hell I want. What do I want? Because I feel like for me, that's when I'll be an asset to a family, to a partnership, when I figured out for myself what I want. You know what I mean? And they hopefully would have figured out the same. And we could put our wants on the table and figure out what we want together, and it won't be from a place that's like, it'll be from a place of giving, right? Without feeling like I'm not being replenished, So, but I would say that it was tough because I've always, for majority of our business, of us running businesses, there's always been something else that I've been doing. Like when we first started out, I was working full time. Did that for a year, still running the business. And then when, because I stopped working in 2019. So then when that ended, when work was no longer the thing that I was juggling with my business, it was now my relationship, and it was a long distance relationship. So I was in and out of town, and just different things going on. So it's always been me doing business and something else of like equal or higher value playing. Does that make sense?
Playing? What do you mean?
Not playing, but like in happening at the same time.
Like something of equal value. So like as far as energy that you have to
as far as energy.
Okay.
So now the something of equal value I'm learning, or I've learned, has to be myself. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because my business is driven by, like, what I do in my business is driven by me. You know what I mean? So I don't remember what question you asked me that got me here, but
it wasn't a question.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I was responding to a question. So yeah, it was tough. I feel like and when I first went to therapy last year in 2020, she was asking me like, so what's going on in your life? And I'm like, yeah, I have this business, but let me tell you, I got this failing relationship. And
it's failing, it's falling.
It's failing, it's falling, it's draining. I can't.
Yeah. Is that like what initiated the first meeting, or like you meeting back up with her?
No, it was part of it, because I was also like, I was working full time. I had the business. We were doing the business full time.
What did she tell you? Did she tell you were doing too much?
She definitely was like, you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I was working, I had the business, and I had a relationship that was struggling. And it was 2020 on top of that. So I remember like right around that time, I think I had family members passing and stuff like that. So I was just like, listen, they say therapy is good. And I was having, like, I used to have panic attacks driving home. Like I would be on the highway thinking I'm having like a heart attack. Just something had to give. You know? So yeah, that was interesting. But I don't know if, I guess for me, my question would be you working with me during those times, because I don't know how I was coming across in my business, in my work. You get what I'm saying? I just know that I was like trying to show up to all of the things that I had obligations to.
I felt like we did what we had to do still.
Yeah.
Like at the same time, like I feel like you were going through whatever you were going through. I feel like it was 2020. Like we were all going through something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I really wasn't even paying attention. I was really just trying to look like I was getting done what I needed to get done. Okay. Just making sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I completed my part. You know what I mean? Like, so I wasn't even, I don't remember being like, oh my gosh, like she's dropping the ball and she's not doing, I don't feel that at all, because I was in my head like, don't drop the ball. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, people were still getting paid and things were still happening. So.
I think we handled it pretty well. Like, I feel like we handled 2020 really well for the kind of industry we were running too. For us to still have to be out there grinding, still trying to get into nursing homes, like, you know, to try to recruit, you know, not recruit, but fill our beds and stuff. Like, I feel like we did good for the situation we were in. And the fact that we were both in therapy, like, I feel like that's a responsible thing to do while having to run a business, while having, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like you're keeping yourself in check. So you're coming to work and you're not, you know, pouring everything that you have going on over here because you're working on yourself back at home. You know what I mean? And I was doing the same thing. And it's like we kind of just did it without, it's not like one of us were like, you need therapy. Yeah. I think we just kind of did it without prompting. I feel like we just figured we needed it for ourselves and we did it. Yeah.
I was only in therapy for like a hot minute though in 2020.
Oh yeah, 2020. I think I made it through probably one session.
Yeah, maybe I had 3. Cause it was with my therapist, it was crazy. I wonder what she was experiencing, because it's like when we first started, I had this issue, but then by the next time we met, something else happened. Then by the next time, something else happened. Like there was one I think one of our final sessions, she was like, "Oh my gosh, Juny, this is a lot." I was like, "Yeah." It's I'm living it. You know what I'm saying? So it just got gradually worse.
I know.
And then I just stopped going.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, with my therapist now, I'm like, yo, she's definitely, if she didn't diagnose me yet, she gonna diagnose me this session, this one. Like, I'm crazy, yo. But it was cool. So like I actually recently had a session with her, and she pretty much like summed up, because I came to her at the beginning of this year. Like pretty much my first session with her was like maybe a week after we closed. So I'm over here explaining to her, you know, that I don't know, had I already moved into this house? I think maybe I did. So I'm explaining to her how I've came to just be in this house by myself, and how I'm not working this, you know, in this business anymore, and, you know, just explaining all these things. And then the next time we spoke, I was like, yeah, I just came back from Ghana. She was like, was that a part of the plan? I was like,
no, nah, we don't plan over here. No.
But yeah, so it was cool to like for her to sum up everything that I've mentioned, or like notes that she took about like what I said or how I was feeling and stuff like that. And she was like telling me how she saw like a shift in, like I shifted and I changed. And at some point in our session, like my viewpoints, my language started changing. Mm-hmm. But one thing that she said she consistently sees in her notes is me saying, I'm scared, I'm worried, like something about being anxious. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, dang, I really think I wouldn't be surprised if she has, you know, I like said, like if she's diagnosed me with some kind of like anxiety
disorder.
Yeah, something, because I definitely do worry a lot. That's crazy.
So do you feel like, I think sometimes it's, I don't know, I feel like the thing is like, okay, you could be like, everybody goes through stuff, right? But the way that, like that mindlessness that some people get to have when they go to work, sometimes
you wish you could have that.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I could have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the repetitive, just doing the same thing.
I'm just here, I'm doing this, and then I'm just gonna go home and forget about me being here for however long I'm at home, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish that I could just, I guess, I'm not gonna say that word, that might be offensive, but yeah, sometimes I wish I could just show up at work. Like, okay, when like early last year, okay, so there's two things I want to say. I worked like for a short period of time, and you know, I was sitting with my manager at the time, and I was just telling her like, yo, I got a lot going on, da 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 da. And she was just like, yeah, you know, sometimes we have to just compartmentalize and, you know, just show up, do this thing, and then go. And I'm just like, aren't you lucky? You know what I'm saying? Aren't you lucky that you get to like this isn't yours? You know, like you get to come and nothing else in your life has to affect your workflow or anything like that, you know? But like literally, if I don't feel like getting up and going to the meeting, no one else is gonna go. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like if I don't feel like getting up and running payroll, no one else is gonna do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, okay, it's like, and I don't want, you know, you want to be present, you want to be there, you want to, you know, be on top of your game, like because you know, like when we meet with our staff, our team and stuff like that, they're looking at us to have the answers, you know. Yeah. And we're looking at least me, I'm looking back at them like, listen, I'm just figuring this thing out. I might have the answer in the next 10 minutes. It might take me 10 days. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But sometimes I wish that I could look to someone else for the answers, you know? Mm-hmm.
Call Tyrone.
Yeah, that's true. There's always Tyrone. I think this is number 10 now.
He's in every episode.
He's gonna have to listen to this season. Tyrone, if you listening, I mean,
there's gonna be an episode. This
is free marketing right here.
There's
gonna
be an episode. Stay tuned. There's gonna be an episode where we explain. We're probably gonna have to have Tyrone come on and explain how he can save your business too. Okay. That's
yeah.
Funny.
So yeah, sometimes it's like, it would just be nice to just not have to, because I don't get to just like, yeah, we can start working at 5, but we still thinking about the work issue at 10. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still in my mind.
Oh yeah.
It's still like, oh, this is a problem we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's like when I'm not working, work is overshadowing other things. When I'm working, emotions is overshadowing work. Like life stuff is like in the back of my mind. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I know it's a game of balance and, you know, figuring out how to cope and stuff like that. But I guess I'm just venting.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I heard somebody had mentioned something about like, you know, if you only do things like when you feel like doing it, like how successful are you going to be in whatever area? And I think that we do a good job of like, we may not feel like doing it at the 100%, like at 100%, but we'll like, if it's 10%, we'll do the 10%. Like if that's what I have to give today, then we'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's and we do it. And that just means, I think that I brought this up in another episode too. For me, I'm patient with where we are right now. I'm fine with it. Like, it's feeding me. It has a roof over my head. I got lights. We have a studio to record in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm like, I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with where I am right now and what my business is providing for me right now. Like, I definitely want more. Don't get me wrong. I want more, but I'm not like stressed about that too much. Like, I know our business is going to, you know, get to a place where we like get to the goals that we want. But it's like, of course, in order for us to get to those goals, we have to be functioning at a pretty high percentage. Like, we set our goals pretty high. So to me, if we're here, you know, we know where our goal is, and eventually we typically meet our goals. So
yeah, we typically do.
It might take a little bit longer because of where we are. And that's why I can't wait for us to grow our team, because then it's like, it doesn't have to be all on us. It is a lot to do to be wearing all the hats that we wear in the business and having to deal with our personal mental health on top of that. So
it's interesting. I mean, but I still wouldn't, I guess, change it. You know what I mean? I still wouldn't change it, because we get to come on a podcast and talk about how our mental health affects our work
business,
habits. You know what I mean?
And I really want to figure this out before the family shows up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't know how these entrepreneurs that have families on top of this, like how, like, I would probably run away.
I mean, but I don't think you're going to be able to figure it out, because the family within itself is going to be another thing that you have to now juggle. Like, there's going to be different levels, you know, there's different, like, there's going to be something new each time. So it's like, there's so never going to be a point where you're 100%
focus on your mental health. Like, mothers, I don't think they have that much time to focus on how they're feeling and tuning into themselves. And then if you're like a wife on top of that, and you're really like, I know someone like me, I'm probably going to put a lot of expectations on myself as to like what kind of wife and mom I want to be. And like, if I feel like I'm failing in those areas, I know I'm going to be hard on myself. You know what I mean? So it's like, but then what about the duty to myself? That's a lot. That's really a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And that's what I'm saying. I think there's never going to be a time where it's like, all right, I've got it. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be like, okay, you may get it once they're 6 months, but then they're going to be 2.
So, so it's like you're always going to have to juggle the mental health stuff that goes on with it. But as far as like what I want to get.
Well, not just mental health, just like all of it, like mental health, work, family, your emotions, your kids' emotions, whatever your partner is going through.
Yeah.
You know?
And honestly, like, men go through a lot more than what they've admitted. You know? They be going through some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And so to have to be like the supporter of that person on top of that, you know, it's just that's a lot. Shout out to the moms, wives, and entrepreneurs. Like, I don't know how y'all are doing it. Because just me by myself, I'm like, this is a lot.
Yeah. But I think it'll be worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
I did this personality test called Enneagram. And so my Enneagram number is, I'm a 4. And it was funny how these types of tests, like, I'm always just like, whatever. And then you read it. And then you're like, okay, yeah, sounds like me, but still whatever. And my personality says, like, my results literally said that, you know, I would probably be like, this is all BS. But
this is all BS.
Like what I was reading, like the description of the.
Wow, that's hilarious.
So, and it was talking about how like how I view my life is not like, it's like my life is the story versus like me writing a story. It's like I kind of just wait to see what the story is gonna bring.
Wow, I could see that. I mean, how do you feel about that?
No, I feel like that's true because I feel like I stress myself more trying to like be, you know, some people are able to really just plan out their lives. But for me, it's like, what if I don't like this plan once I get there? You get what I mean?
So you don't plan it?
It's not that I don't plan it. Like I have general ideas of what I would like to do, but I'm not like,
you don't have anything set. Like
I'm not like married to any specific thing. I just know I want to be happy. I want to be free. I want to get up and go. And a lot of different things could bring me that reality. But it talks about how, like, you know, I'm not the type of person who would do well in 9 to 5. And, you know, it just talks about how, like, I wait for my life to write the story. Like, my life is the story. My life is the masterpiece type thing. So I was like, that's true. I could see that.
Yeah.
You know?
I could see that too. I probably plan it out a lot. And then I'm open to the changes that come.
Yeah.
In the plan. You know, things that I didn't expect. Like, but when you, like the whole vision board thing, that thing is real. That's real. Like, I feel like I didn't expect to be moving into my house when I had like the apartment that I wanted on my vision board. Like, it included me having an office. It included me having my master bedroom, a bathroom, a fireplace, a garage. You know what I mean? Like, it included the white color that I wanted in my kitchen, and it included all those things.
Oh wow.
And it showed up not the way that I expected it to at all. Like, with it being my own house, I didn't expect it. Showed up with 2 extra rooms. Like, I had 2 additional rooms that I didn't really need, but it was just like, wow, this is exactly
what I asked for.
Yeah. But not exactly what I asked for at the same time. So it's like, it is nice to try to plan it out too, but there's also like a good thing with just being like letting things be spontaneous, letting things fall into place the way that they, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes I beat myself up for not being the type of person who like plans out everything. But what I want changes.
Yeah.
You know,
you asked me the other day about like the whole car situation. You were just like, well, how am I going to get to where I need to go, you know, without the car or whatever. And it's like, for me, I think that like not having a car, it's like you notice like, okay, basically there's a shift that happens. Like you just stop doing certain things because that's not an option anymore. Right? So there's some things that you just stop doing, and then there's other things that you just find an alternative for. And then there's humbling yourself and asking for a ride.
That's hard for me. I've gone without a car before. I've had a period of not having a car because I got to like a car accident and I didn't have a car for a while. And I just don't like waiting on people. I don't like waiting on people. I don't like feeling like someone else is in control of me. But it's very interesting. It's like I don't like feeling like someone else is in control of me. But back to that Enneagram thing talks about me being the type of person who, like, in terms of intimate relationships and stuff, I like to be protected. I like to have someone who's more of the protector, who's
but you
more
do literally the opposite. Like I witness you do literally the opposite.
The opposite of what?
Of that. Like if somebody were to offer their protection, you'd be like, get out. Like, move. Like, you'd be like pushing them away.
Really?
Yeah. Like any assistance, any protection, like you're like, no, thanks. I got this.
Yeah, maybe it's about like I want to choose who's doing the protecting. Maybe, I don't know. Are you talking about like because I'm talking about in relationship, like in
in relationship. I'm saying like, not just in necessarily in intimate relationships, but like, we go out the country a lot and stuff like that. And if like somebody's like offering their help, you're more than likely to be like, no, like you don't want.
Yeah, I think it goes along. I think it's like, it's not just like, I think part of me wants to choose
who it is.
I
see.
It's not just like, oh, just because you're here that I just take it.
But are you choosing like who it is and how it is too? Like how it's done?
I think more so who it is, because if I'm like, all right, this is, if I feel like, okay, this person, I've chosen them and I like these things about them, I don't have a problem following their lead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem doing that. It's it's just about, because I'm very like tricky, like as far as how I deal with other people. Mm-hmm. I think there's a level of, because of my personality type, like I like to try to find others, or like when I'm looking at people in that way, it's like, like something that is complementary to what I believe my personality type to be, not necessarily what others outside.
I don't think I get what you're saying at all. Explain that.
So it's like, okay, I like to choose the person based off of what qualities I feel that they have that are complementary to what I perceive that I have. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And it's not just because, I don't know. And I think also I don't really trust people like that.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something else that like I have been working on too, and it's really hard because, okay, with this whole like, I know we talk about the red pill community and just be like rolling our eyes, whatever. If you're not familiar with the red pill community, you just need to look it up. And I'm sorry, but they exist. Okay. And I'm sorry for bringing them, if this is your first time learning about them, I'm sorry for having to be the one to tell you that they exist. But one thing that they speak about that I actually agree with to a certain degree is like our level of the whole feminine / masculine energy. And I feel like being an entrepreneur, having to run a business, having to be in charge of so many things, it really does bring out this level of masculine energy out. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like you have to be working from that place. Like, even like to get myself started for the day, like to motivate me, I will listen to some like, it's not really hardcore, but like, it's like, like the rap, I'll listen to like rap that's like talking about, making that money, getting that bread. Like I really do tap into that energy in order for me to be like, all right, let's win. Let's do this. Let's make this money. Let's get this bag. And I think that is cool. Like, it's been feeding me. It's been putting a roof over my head. So like the red pill community can talk trash all they want. But hey, it's taking care of me. Right, being able to tap into that. But at the same time, it's like, dang, like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, is like I have goals on both sides. I have goals for entrepreneurship and I have goals for the family side. So it's like, if I can't figure out how to tap out of that energy to attract the man that I am looking for, then it's like, that's a struggle. You know what I mean? So one thing that I did notice was like, yeah, I claim that I want a man that's like interested in helping me and, taking care of me in some kind of way, but then I never give them the opportunity to do it. And I noticed that's something that a lot of us do. That's something a lot of us do. Like the women in my family, the women around me, my friends, like we all do that. Like we don't accept help. We don't ask for help, you know? And then even when we ask for help, like for example, me and you will have things that we need moved. Every time we go and we find men to help us move, but here we are moving stuff still. And they're like, get out the way. Like, we got this. We're over here. It's like we feel like we still have to do it. Like we don't just allow them to do what we ask them to do.
I can see that. I can see and definitely identify with what you're saying. But I do think, like, I've noticed in myself, like when I'm alone, like if it's just me interacting with another person, it's more naturally for me to be more. I think it also goes down to, like, I have to like you, not necessarily in a romantic way, but like generally. I think sometimes with my personality, oftentimes people kind of just swoop in, and I'm just not that type of person. I'm a closed person. I'm definitely a person who likes to kind of warm up to others. So it may definitely come off as, you know, me not wanting help or not needing help, or definitely
Well, you don't ask for help at all.
I don't. But I think that's what I'm saying is that's a very vulnerable state.
To need help?
To not to need help. Like everybody needs help. But it's a vulnerable state to be like, hey, I need help. And what I'm saying is I'm not vulnerable with everybody like that. Does that make sense? So it's not like
I mean, you won't even ask me when you need help. Like even like in business, like even in our business, if you need help with a part of the project, or you won't say anything. So it's like, who are you that vulnerable with? Because we've been friends for 10 years. We're business partners. I'm the person it's normal to ask me for help. So
yeah, I'm not vulnerable with anybody like that.
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, I would like my fam. I think like my mom and my brother I'm really close with, and like lately it's been easier to voice to them when I feel like I'm failing in an area or I'm falling short in an area. But outside of that, like, no, I'm not. Like, I actually don't like when people see me cry. I actually don't like that. But because I cannot control when I cry, it happens more than like people see me cry, or people see when I'm going through stuff. It's not because I want it to be seen. It's just because naturally, physically, my body, my face, my energy does what it wants. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not someone who likes to be seen or to show myself in that state.
So any kind of vulnerability, you don't like to show any kind of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you feel like that? How do you feel like that would even show up? How do you think that translates when it is like relationship wise? Like,
no, I definitely know that I haven't been as vulnerable as maybe I should have. I would say in my relationships, I've definitely been more apt to be vulnerable than in other relationships, but definitely not to my fullest potential. No. And I think it's a level of feeling safe in that space to be able to feel like, okay, I can, just because it's not just like it's not just like, okay, I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable. It's like I also need to feel safe in the space. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that I don't feel safe in spaces with, like, you know, like friendships and stuff like that. It's not to say that. It's just there's parts of yourself that you don't share. Like, I think a friendship is one level of intimacy. I think a romantic relationship is one level of intimacy. You get what I'm saying? So there are just certain things like, yeah, I don't allow others to kind of see me
cry.
No, not see me cry. Like, I don't allow others to experience that side of me. Like, I would prefer not to.
Okay. I feel like a lot of us, like Black women, maybe Haitian women, I don't know if I can say Black women if I know that well, but I know for Haitian women, I think a lot of us don't like for anyone to see us cry. Like, it's like we want to hide that. But I think it's so weird because, like, you know, our white counterparts, it's almost like they want us to see them cry. Like, I've just seen that. I just feel like they're so comfortable in their emotions. Like, just from outside looking in, they seem so comfortable with their emotions of, I'm sad, I'm crying, I need comfort. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they do it anywhere, at work, at the grocery store, at, you know, and for us, it's like, it's a lot to let it out or to have other people see that or, you know?
Yeah, I think part of it is, it goes back to childhood where I think for a lot of us growing up, when we cry, it's like, why are you crying? I'm going to give you a reason to cry. Even though we be crying for things that make sense to cry for.
You're crying, come here.
Right.
Like,
whereas, you know, I think other, yeah, we didn't get that reaction. Like, and I think too, like, especially being women, like, women discipline women. As far as like women make women and men make men, right? And I think our mothers, you know, probably didn't have the freedom to just cry when I'm sure they felt like crying, you know? And I know for me, like, I didn't grow up with my dad in the household who would typically be that comforter who's like, oh, come here, princess. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? And this is not to say that all Haitian women or Black women don't grow up with that. I'm just saying that, like, I think a lot of us have that story, you know?
Yeah, and it wasn't like a popular thing in our culture for them to be like, consoling.
Yeah.
Which is so
and even if they're in the household, like, maybe they're at work, they're working. Yeah. They're just not there as that person. You know what I mean?
That's just so interesting. Like, why do we raise our own like that? Like, because I mean, they're just mirroring what they experienced, right? Probably even a lighter version of it,
right? But I would imagine it goes back to, you know, I know people don't like when we trace everything back to slavery, but I would imagine that it's learned. You know, like who was consoling the slaves when they cried?
Right. It was just like, hey,
stop crying,
suck it up.
Yeah,
life is hard.
You know.
Get up and keep going. You know, I think it did like help us be strong I think that it led to us having this like really strong like masculine side. Like, we really do have that.
I think it's crippling.
The masculine thing?
I think the whole tough love thing can be for some personalities. It's like, yeah, it made me tougher. And then for some personalities, I think it's crippling.
For some personalities, yeah. But I think like it's like we had to overcompensate in that area in order to survive in this country. Like, we had to evolve in this way to be able to survive. Like, the women, Black women, as much trash as like some people want to talk about Black women these days, which is crazy. But like, as much trash as you want to talk, Black women are providing for their families and feeding their families, and they had to tap into this, you know, into this energy to be able to do that. Like, as single moms, like, so that's what led to, you know, so many of us going to school, so many of us opening businesses, and it's out of us trying to survive and feed our family.
Yeah. And I think too, like, there's so many conversations around. I feel like this episode is going to have a title that's a little, I don't know, all encompassing. But this conversation around femininity and masculinity is just like, it's not like I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. Like, yeah, we definitely are in our masculine, and we definitely have to be in order to get through sometimes. But I feel like the conversation that people don't have is that, just like, you know, we learned about polar opposites in science, and we learned about magnets and how the negative and the positive, when you're in the presence of a masculine, naturally you should be able to be feminine, right? And not unmasculine. That's like, because there are men
who are operating in their feminine.
Yeah, not just that there are men who are operating in their feminine, but there are men who are overtly masculine, and it's not like a natural thing. Does that make sense?
It's like they're overcompensating for something they lack.
Yeah, like they're like they're just doing too much, and they just want you to know, like, I'm the masculine,
and that amps up my masculine energy more. I'm like that makes me want to be like, what? Who are you? Like,
yeah, and that's what makes me be like, get away from me. You know what I mean? Or that's when I turn into someone who just, I don't want the protection, or you know what I mean? Whereas I prefer to be drawn in, you know, versus like, hey, I'm a masculine, submit to me. Like, first of all, it doesn't even work like that, right?
Yeah.
Submission only happens, for me, submission happens within the context of a marriage. But yeah.
The reason why I bring up the masculine femininity thing is because I do think that it's an important thing to talk about when it comes to mental health, because I don't think that it's healthy how much we operate in our masculine energy. And that kind of goes back to like women not being able to carry their children and not being able to even conceive. I think that plays a huge role in the fact that you're just like, we're so stressed. We're so like, you know what I mean? Like the stress is what's causing like they're finding like a lot of Black women, we're the ones that have like fibroids and all these things like wrong with our uterus. And that's coming from, I really do think that it's coming from us not operating in our natural element, like from our natural source of energy. So it's like we're overcompensating a little bit too much to where it's giving us like mental issues, and it's even affecting our bodies.
Yeah.
And how we operate. So
I could see that.
That has been like kind of a challenge for me too. Like, moving, like trying to find ways. Like, yeah, I have to operate in my masculinity because I'm I'm not married. I'm a single woman who has to survive in this world. And if you don't have any of that energy, I don't know how you survive without it. So yeah, that's where I'm like, I have to have it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I need to learn how to practice tapping into the feminine side a little bit more and not having to be so in control all the time. And, you know, being a little bit more flexible about things.
I think that like, I don't think that saying it's a necessity, because I feel like there are women who are always in their feminine who still get their stuff done. Like, it's not like feminine means you don't go to work or you don't provide for your, I don't view it as that. I feel like there are definitely women who live in their feminine essence and still run businesses, still take care of themselves, still provide a lifestyle that they would like, while still and don't have to. You get what I'm saying? I feel like I don't feel like it's fair to blanket state that every woman has to, like, everyone is out here being in their masculine. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Because like, women were working before this feminine masculine thing became a conversation. Like, they were working still. You know what I mean?
That it's been an ongoing issue since like with slavery and everything. I think it's like ongoing.
But I'm saying even before slavery, I feel like women have been working.
I don't think it's about the working. There's working, and then there's entrepreneurship, like having to be in charge.
So you don't think women were in charge of anything prior to slavery?
I'm not saying they weren't in charge, but I'm saying the energy of like being in charge, running, you know, having staff that, you know, answer to you. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a certain level of energy you, especially in this country, that you have to show up with for people to like not necessarily take you seriously, but I think you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, but I just think that that's giving the idea, or it's coming off as giving the idea that the feminine isn't also something to be respected.
I never said that.
But no, what I'm saying is that like I feel like there are people or women who operate in their femininity and still get stuff done in the way that they need to get done, because the reason why women step into their masculinity is because they feel like there's a level of respect that they want to have, right? There's a level of like gumption that we need in order for the staff to either take me seriously, or this person I'm in this meeting with to take me seriously, to, you know, listen to me, to close this deal. All of that really boils down to like, I want to be respected regardless of the fact that I'm a woman. I still want to, it still needs to be known that I get my stuff done, that I'm you know what I mean? That I'm capable, that I'm in charge.
I don't even mean like they have to be rah, I'm this, I'm that.
No, I'm not saying rah. I'm just talking
I just feel like, okay, like if we're looking at it like a car, okay? And say the masculine energy is driving the vehicle and then the feminine energy is in the passenger seat, right? Those are two different roles being played, right? When you have to get into the driver's seat, it's like you have to take on a new energy to get you from point A to point B. Now you're in charge of where we're going, how we're getting there, making sure everyone in the car stays safe. You're the one that decides when you pull over to fill up the tank. You know what I mean? Like you're the one that makes sure, like there's a lot more that goes to that versus like being the passenger that's just like, you know, possibly looking out for what's going on, or just, you know, being like a support. It's nicer. It's like, it's just a little bit more lax in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? Like if there's kids in the back, you're probably managing that, you know? But outside of that, maybe you're, you know, watching the map and just giving them a heads up when it's time for them to take an exit or something. But that's a different role, and that's a different, and you know what I mean? Like that's a different energy. Like if you're looking at it from, like that's how I'm looking at it as. Okay. Like you have to take on all of these, because being in charge is not, I'm not saying like that's not what we're naturally supposed to do, because I'm not saying that, but I feel like there is, you see how so many women, especially like when they're wanting to start families, a lot of them would like to be able to work as an option, not because they have to. Because stressing about money and income and having, you know, making sure everything, like that stress is taking away energy from you to be able to do like the mom stuff, the wife stuff. Like it's taking some of that energy away from you. I think that's just how I feel. Okay. Yeah. But learning, I want to learn how to operate in my femininity in my business as well. You know, like even why do we feel like we have to show up to meetings in business suits? Like why? We're women.
Yeah. I mean, I've been stopped doing that.
Well, I mean, like even with, it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like there is a lot of like trying to take on this. It's like we promote taking on the persona of having that. When you see the entrepreneur woman on TV, she has like this white business suit with the pants and the heels. Like she just looks like the shortcut. Like she just looks like a man. Yeah. That's how she shows up. And it's like, and that's how the corporate world, I don't know, maybe that's what they want from women. Who knows? But yeah, learning how to do both is a challenge too. So anyway, that's all goes into mental health. This is I guess what it's like to be an entrepreneur, a Haitian woman entrepreneur in the United States, you know, like all these things you have to cope with. Single woman at that. but I feel like my problems as a single woman entrepreneur is probably a lot easier than what it's going to be when I'm not.
Yeah.
So these problems I'm probably going to be laughing at these little problems later.
Right. You're probably going to want to be like, I wish I could go back to those days.
I know. But now we have the recordings. We have the venting to remember. My future self is probably going to be like, dang, you should have been appreciating. What are you venting about? But yeah, life is good though. Do you have a quote of the day for these beautiful people?
Do you?
No. I was trying to look one up. I can look one up.
I don't have a quote from anyone today, but I would just say that, progression, not perfection. Actually, yes. Progression, not perfection. And that's by Pastor Michael Todd. Shout out to him.
I don't have a quote, but I do have a resource. So for any of you that are interested in therapy and you're kind of like stressed about the price of it, and that's why you're not going to therapy, there's this really awesome website called openpath.com, and it pretty much will set you up with a therapist that is willing to work on payment based off of how much you make. So usually the prices like range from $30 to $60 an hour depending on your income. So that's like, I feel like $30, even if you start off with just meeting them once a month, it's worth the investment. Like, get to know yourself first of all, and to understand like why you do what you do and where it comes from, and how you can like cope and manage with everything that's been going on lately. Like, after 2020, if you haven't checked yourself out in therapy, like, you need to wake up and get it together, because this is really stressful. Just all of everything that we've been going through is traumatic. And even if you may not see it, on the surface, it might be, that problem might be underlying and really deep. So openpath.com.
Alrighty, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. Like I said, my quote leaving you with today is Progression, Not Perfection by Pastor Michael Todd from his book, Relationship Goals. So like always, feel free to listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ashes and Roses Real. And we'll see you next time.
See you next week.
Roses, seize your moment. Don't you blow it. Got a lot to talk about, 'cause it's ashes and roses. Roses, roses. It's ashes and roses. Got a lot to talk about, 'cause it's ashes and roses.